40 miles off the remote northwestern coast of Scotland lie the Outer Hebrides. In this video, I am exploring the small, rugged, and stunning Isle of Harris. Join me as I show you the basics of how to use intentional camera movements in your photography. Harris's white sand beaches may look idyllic, but the western coast of these isles open up to the vast Atlantic Ocean, bringing unpredictable weather and, in turn, exciting opportunities for creative image making. The sea air and the brisk winds help to clear the mind and connect me to my surroundings. Walking through the marram grasses to the beach, I find myself in a place of peace and calm, ready for a day of photography.
Hello everyone, my name is Murray Livingston. I'm a landscape photographer and welcome to the Outer Hebrides here in Scotland. I'm on the Isle of Harris on this exquisite white sand beach at low tide. And the focus of my photography today is going to be ICM, or abstract images. For those of you who don't know what ICM is, it stands for intentional camera movements. And it's a technique where you extend your shutter speed, purposely move the camera to create movement and abstraction in your photography. So today I'm going to show you how to do it and why you might consider adding it as a tool in your arsenal. Right, without further ado, let's go and find a subject in this beautiful, minimal, open, abstract landscape. Open, minimal landscapes such as this beach can often be quite tricky to find subjects and compositions. So one of the things that I always like to do is literally look down at my feet and try to notice some of the details. On this beach, we've got these wonderful ripples that are caused by the waves coming in and then receding. So I might try and make an image where it's the interaction of the sea foam with those black waves. Another thing that I like to do is try to capture the feeling or the mood that I have when I'm in a place, the experience that I'm having. So I might be walking along this beach with an enormous sense of calm from the sounds of the crashing wave. And that can inform a photograph about the breaking waves and the form and the shape that they make. So now that I have a few ideas brewing, I can break out the camera, show you some of the technique, as well as some of the key equipment that you're going to need in order to make ICM images. So I've moved up onto a drier part of the beach just to show you some of the equipment that you're going to need. I do use a tripod occasionally, and we'll get into that in a little while. So one thing I need to talk about is filters, and it's the name of the game really for ICM photography because you need to control your shutter speed. You need something long enough where you can move the camera, but short enough that's going to hold some sort of texture, some sort of detail. So for instance, photographing water, something in the sort of 1/5 of a second, maybe a bit longer, is going to be just long enough for you to move the camera, but short enough to capture the flow of the water, for instance. Longer exposures do work, but it's just a case of experimentation. And that's really why ICM and some of this abstract photography can be so fun, because it's all about experimentation and just trying things out. So quickly, I carry around 3 filters with me. I have 2 ND filters and 1 circular polarizing filter. So these are, and you'll see here, this is a 6-stop ND filter, which blocks out the light and allows you to prolong your shutter speed. Then also have a 10-stop, And then this is a circular polarizer, and it's also a 3-stop. So sometimes a combination of these things will get me to where I need to be with my shutter speed. And then of course you need some way of attaching that to your lens. So this is a filter thread. It's matched to the 2 lenses that I have, and then it goes onto this filter holder. And then that whole contraption there goes onto my lens. And this holds the filters in place, as well as the circular polarizer on the front. And as I mentioned, I do sometimes use a tripod because it's occasionally quite effective to lock off certain axes and only move in one direction. But a lot of the time, just going handheld is actually the best way to go. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break out the camera and see if we can make some nice ICM images here on the beach. So let's start out with some ICM basics. I've got the 2 filters on, and that's giving me an exposure about half a second, 0.6 of a second, and that's just long enough for me to do some movements. Now I'm just going to photograph the mountains here as a simple subject to start with, because it's a good way to show you the effect of different sorts of motion on your subject. So that's definitely one thing to play around with, is the axis upon which you actually move the camera. For instance, if I pan across the ocean here, it's going to emphasize the horizontal lines. Whereas if I go up and down, it's actually going to blur those lines on the sensor. A good way that I like to visualize this actually relates to the word photography itself, which means writing with light, photographia from Latin. So I imagine the light or the mountains painting themselves onto the sensor of my camera. And that way, when you do a movement, it's like you're doing a brush stroke on the sensor itself. So I'll do a few examples here, and then you can see the sort of differences that those movements make. So I'm going into about 70 mil here, because the longer your focal length, the more those movements will register, the more effective they'll be on the sensor. So we'll do some horizontal panning ones here. Nice and simple. Just clicking the shutter as I rotate from the base, still keeping everything nice and stable. And we can see we've got some beautifully blurred out abstract mountains. Now I'm going to do a few up and down. Maybe I'll get in a bit closer to the waves here. And that's something, of course, you can play around with. I quite like to just wobble the camera slightly as opposed to going in one direction. That creates some sort of ghosting patterns, which can be quite nice. The other is, of course, you're not limited to single axes. I can follow the shapes of the mountains here to create something that's going to be completely wild and abstract. So I'll zoom right in, let's go to 105 mil, and then we'll follow the shapes of those mountains, incorporating both up and down motions is increasing that blur and that dramatic ICM effect. So why should you give ICM or abstract photography a try? Well, at the end of the day, it's all about controlling shutter speed, and that's one of the fundamental basics of photography. Our media photography is one of time, and so shutter speed is really one of the crucial elements to creating photographs. So I've returned to these ripples in the beach, and it's one of the very exciting things about ICM is that it's such a versatile technique. Of course, I can use it with moving subjects like the water here, but you can also add movement to static subjects like mountains, trees. So to me, it's such a versatile tool, and it's fun and exciting, and it's never the same. So definitely give it a go, get out there and try some intentional camera movements.
Thanks so much for watching this on-location video. Do remember to leave a comment down below, let us know what you think, click the subscribe button, and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one. Cheers.